Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum. Today we are going to discuss about the asexual and sexual reproduction. Individual animals have a finite lifespan. A species transcends this limit only by reproduction, the creation of new individual from existing ones. Animals reproduce in you can say reproduction without sex is the creation of genetically identical offsprings by a lone parent. Because asexual reproduction proceeds without the fusion of the egg and the sperm, the resulting offsprings are genetic copies of one parent. So there are the several type of asexual reproduction are found among animals. Many invertebrates, as you can see in the examples such as Hydra, reproduce asexually by budding, splitting off new individual from outgrowth of existing ones. And another example is of the sea anemone. The sea anemone in the center is undergo fission, the separation of a parent into two or more individuals of about equal size. Asexual reproduction can also result from the process of fragmentation, the breaking of the parent body into the several pieces. And fragmentation is followed by regeneration. The regeneration is the regrowth of the body parts. For example, a whole new individual can develop from broken off arm plus a bit of the central body. Thus, a single animal with 5 arms, if broken apart, could potentially give rise to 5 offsprings via asexual reproduction in a matter of weeks. In some species of the sea sponges, if single sponge is pushed through a wire mesh, each of the resulting clumps of the cells can regrow into a new sponge. Here is some advantages and disadvantages of asexual reproduction. In nature, asexual reproduction has several potential advantages. For one, it allows animals that do not move from place to place or that live in isolation to produce the offsprings without finding mates. Another advantage is that it enables the animals to produce many offsprings quickly. No time and energy is lost in the production of the egg and sperm or in mating. Asexual reproduction perpetuates a particular genotype faithfully, precisely, and rapidly. Therefore, it can be an effective way for the animals that are genetically well suited to an environment to quickly expand their population and exploit the available resources. And the disadvantage of the asexual reproduction is that a potential disadvantage of asexual reproduction is that it produces a genetically uniform population, and genetically similar individual may thrive in one particular environment, but if the environment changes and become less favorable, all the individual may be affected equally and the entire population may die out. So, genetically similar offsprings cannot withstand the temperature fluctuations and they die out. Next is sexual reproduction. Sexual reproduction is the creation of offspring through the process of fertilization, the fusion of the two haploid, or you can say n number sex cells or gametes to form a diploid to an zygote. N refers to the haploid number of the chromosomes and 2n refers to the diploid number. For example, if we talk about the humans, n is equal to 23 and 2n is equal to 46. The male gametes, the sperms, is relatively small that moves by means of flagellum. As you can see in the diagram that the sperms have flagella for the movement. The female gamete, the egg is much larger than that is not self-propelled, the zygote. Self-propelled, and the zygote in the new individual it develops into and contains a unique combination of the genes that inherited from the parent via the egg and sperm. You can see in the diagram that the male sperm possesses the flagellum, but female egg do not have flagellum. And if we made comparison between these two gametes, you can see that the size of the egg or the female gamete is larger than that of the sperm. And most animals reproduce mainly or exclusively by sexual reproduction, which increase the genetic variability among the offsprings. And the meiosis and the random fertilization can generate the enormous genetic variability, and such variation is the raw material of evolution by nature. Although asexual reproduction has advantage, it presents a problem for non-mobile animals and for those that live solitary lives. How to find a mate? One solution that has evolved is hermaphroditism, in which each individual has both female and male reproductive system. So, some hermaphroditism, such as the tapeworm, can fertilize their own egg, and most must mate their another member of the same species. When hermaphrodites, if we talk about the earthworm, each animal serve as a both male and the female, donating and receiving the sperm. For hermaphrodite, there is only one sex, so every individual encountered is a potential mate. Mating can therefore results in twice as many offsprings than if only one individual's eggs were fertilized. So, in the earthworm, male and female reproductive part is present within a same individual, but the different earthworms mates, because when a sperm come from different earthworm, so there is a chance of genetic variability. Although both the sexes are present within the one earthworm, but there is a mating takes place between two different species due to the genetic variability. The mechanics of the fertilization play an important role in sexual reproduction. Many aquatic invertebrates in the most fishes and amphibians exhibit the external fertilization. The parent discharge their gametes into the water when fertilization occur, often without the male and female even making the physical contact. Timing is crucial because the egg must be ready for fertilization when sperm contact them. For many species, for example, certain clams that live in the freshwater rivers and lakes, for instance, environmental clues such as temperature and the day length cause the whole population to release the gametes all at once. Males and female may also emit a chemical signal that they release their gametes. The signal trigger gamete release in the member of the opposite sexes. Most fishes and amphibian with external fertilization has specific courtship rituals that trigger the simultaneous gametes release into the same vicinity by the male and the female. An example of such a mating ritual is the clasping of the female frog by the male. So, in the external fertilization, there is specific signals between the two sexes. When there is a particular signal, so there is a release of the gametes, and the fertilization and the fertilization take place. In contrast to the external fertilization, internal fertilization occurs when sperm are deposited in or close to the female reproductive tract and gametes unite within the tract. Nearly all terrestrial animals exhibit the internal fertilization, which is an adaptation that enables sperms to reach an egg deposit a dry external environment. Internal fertilization usually requires copulation or the sexual intercourse. It also requires the complex reproductive system, including the organs for the gamete storage and transport, and organs that facilitate the copulation. Here is some advantages and disadvantages of sexual reproduction. In sexual reproduction, a direct copy, a clone is produced. This allows for the reproduction to occur without a mate, but it also increases the chance of the mutation develops within the species. Should the wrong mutation occur, the entire species could eventually be wiped out. Sexual reproduction prevents this issue from occurring because the genetic material from two parents, not one, are used to reproduce an offspring. That prevents the genetic bottleneck from occurring. In this way, it creates the genetic diversity within a species. And second, there is a natural level of the disease resistance throughout the species. A greater level of the genetic diversity allows for the higher level of the natural disease resistance within a species. This is because the bacteria, parasites, viruses which may affect the health of a species are unable to adapt to one specific genetic profile. There will always be disease, but genome diversity allows for the immune system of the people, plants, and the animal to fight off the intrusion so a healthy life can be maintained. And the disadvantage of the sexual reproduction is that it takes time and the energy to find a mate and reproduction. In sexual reproduction, the two gender must find each other to be able to reproduce. It takes time and energy to locate a suitable mate with the preferred traits that are desired so the offspring produced by the union can thrive. For some species, the process of mating in all encompassing task that requires a sole focus on the reproductive cycle until it is completed. And the second disadvantage is the reproduction through the sexual mean is uncertain. Sexual reproduction is not 100% successful method of creating offspring. Some chosen mates may be infertile. Other may not have the gametes come together despite the numerous attempts at creating the offspring. Although there are the diversity advantages that come through this method of reproduction, it is an uncertain method of reproduction. There are some animals who can reproduce both sexually and asexually. Animals that can reproduce both sexually and asexually benefit from both modes. As you can see in the figure that the two sea anemones of the same species, the one species on the left is reproducing sexually via fission, while the one on the right is releasing the eggs. Many other marine invertebrates can also reproduce by both modes. Why would such dual reproduction capabilities be advantageous to the organisms? From several well-studied cases, it is known that certain animals reproduce asexually when there is ample food and when water temperatures are favorable for the rapid growth and development. Asexual production usually continues until cold environment signals the approaches of the winter or until the food supply dwindles or the habitat starts to dry up. At that point, the animals switch to the sexual reproduction mode, resulting in a generation of the genetically varied individual with better potential to adapt to the changing environment. And that's all for the today's lecture. Please do subscribe my channel for more interactive and conceptual contents related to biology. Thanks.